Hello, everyone, and welcome to Beyond Galactic for February the 9th. I'm Zoeta Antaria, and I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to all the beautiful comments that I'm reading from you guys now. And a big thank you also to JC and Janine and JSnip for our fantastic show last week. That was a lot of fun as well. Yeah, just thank you again for the comments on your show last week as well. I was just reading through them and it meant a lot to me. So thank you. We've got a few things to get through today. Now, this is actually my first time kind of like running the reins with, a few more slides than I usually would have. So please bear with me tonight because I've been working out some of the tech background. So here is our poster. And I just want to remind you guys that we have our consultations open as well. So it's at consultations.beyondmystic.net. So if you guys enter to save 10%, just enter the code word Beyond Mystic in all caps and you'll save 10%. You can see a few of our girls here as well as Jen's up there. So we have the mystical oracle reading. And with that one, I kind of work more as like an old school oracle where you will have questions and we get to go through and really look into, the answers that you're seeking and get that expanded wisdom around some of the things coming up for you in life. We also have my Starseed Origins reading where we get to really look more into the galactic side of things, which I know is what you guys really love. And that's why we're here tonight. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into, and please like, share, and subscribe over on Beyond Mystic YouTube. And thank you to also you guys that are watching on Rumble as well. We love it when you hit that thumbs up and also when you leave little comments and things for us as well. So thank you. And let me just pop this. Oh, and I can just see you guys are like from all over. So that's really amazing to see. And we have fellow Australians. Lovely to see as well. Oh my gosh, you guys are from everywhere. That's so lovely to see. And I just wanted to bring in this one. So it's a little bit hard to see, but if you look within the rings of the circles, this was actually from our Beyond show last week. So you can see 3 faces that I've circled. So you might even notice today, so just keep looking in the background if there's any orbs or anything like that, if you guys want to grab a screenshot, and I can always bring that up on the show next week. But we can see in this photo is what looks like Brian Frow fairy pictures, or like some of the illustrations that he would do. So these are what I call either nature spirits or interdimensionals, or sometimes it's multidimensional beings, even stepping within our realm or stepping within our reality. So that was really cool to have that pointed out from a few people last week after the show. And I can see some people from California, some more from Australia. Lovely to see you guys. Now, what the format will be for this show, sort of like going forth as well, will be sometimes we'll have guests on, and sometimes you guys will see JC and Janine pop in from time to time. Other times we will be showing and sharing ET UFO experiences, and I'll be talking about some of the things that I've seen and experienced. And maybe if we have time tonight too, I'll even show you some footage of one of my favorite UFO daytime encounters where I actually filmed in the sky. So we're going to be also talking about the important topic of contact from within, because so much of our focus and the externalization of this has been waiting for, I guess, the news or waiting for governments for disclosure. And for many of you that are part of the Beyond Mystic family and are watching, a lot of you guys have already had your own personal disclosure. So we're really coming together to be able to share experiences and things like that. So yeah, please pop in the comments as well if you guys have had ET contact and experience, because I really do feel that in sharing, this is how we start to gain more knowledge and insight and information, and we find out what initiates contact, which is really what I'm interested in as well. So I'll also go through tonight different places that are quite sacred. What's the commonalities with some of the places that we see UFO sightings too, and what these spots all around the earth kind of have in common. So this is going to be a lot of fun. All right, so coming up, let me just pop out of this. And I'm going to present, I've just worked out literally just today how to go in, and we want to show there was something happen in the news. Now, this happened on January So this was January the 19th, and I will play the clip for you and then we'll recap. So hopefully you guys can see this. Let me just check. Okay, so it looks like it's working, and we're going to play this.
Sounds like an episode of The X-Files. People in Western Canada are reporting mysterious lights in the night sky.
Those are always here. That's part of the studio. Yeah. But actually, pilots flying near Regina and Winnipeg are making these claims, and it seems no one can really confirm exactly what it is. Now, our version of Fox Mulder, Wayne Mantica, investigates.
The lights were spotted by pilots flying over the prairies during the early morning hours of January 19th. It sparked a conversation between aircraft and air traffic controllers.
Yeah, forming triangles, then flying away and coming back. 3 lights in a triangle formation, just flying in a random movement, up and down, left, right, all over the place.
Yeah, it is really quite bizarre.
Air traffic controllers in Winnipeg made note of the pilot sightings and filed reports.
It's not that odd. It happens more frequently than people think. I'm not saying that what the outcome is. I'm just saying this is what my air traffic controllers see.
The ones from the pilots on the 19th were over Gravelbourg, Saskatchewan.
About a week later, another pilot spotted similar lights in northwestern Ontario. Chris Rutkowski is a Winnipeg ufologist.
They were puzzled because there shouldn't have been anything in the sky, according to air traffic control.
Just the other day, an Esterhazy potash worker took photos of strange lights in the sky while driving to work in southeastern Saskatchewan. Rutkowski believes there is a simple explanation.
We're fairly certain that, by and large, these were flares of Starlink satellites.
One of the pilots disputed a similar suggestion.
Definitely not satellites.
It doesn't seem like satellites, as per the Morningstar pilot who came back and twice stated, that's not a satellite.
Researchers encourage other witnesses to come forward so they can gain a better understanding of what the lights may be. Wayne Mantica, CTV News, Regina.
Okay, so I'm sure a few of you guys that pay attention to ET and UFO news would have seen that. So I've just got some little notes that I took from that too, because it's good to really break it down and have a look. So what we also had happen, or actually I forgot to mention, so we talked about the nature spirits in the video last week. I also wanted to mention a personal contact that happened just a few days ago. I think I mentioned it in the Beyond Reality that we did the other day too. So what I actually saw was like a portal, like a white energy portal. My partner and I were actually woken up in the middle of the night to this bright light portal at the bottom of our bed at the back wall. And what we saw was, it felt like something coming through it. But then a few moments later, after trying to go back to sleep and talking about it, we actually felt that there was a presence in the room. So there was like a crackling of like plastic type sound. So I do believe that these portals are opening more and more. And I do believe this could also be why we are having more and more reports and sightings. So this came in, so what we heard was January 19th, there was UFOs spotted over the prairies. So this is north of Winnipeg in Canada. And I can see someone saying that they're from Saskatchewan. And this sighting was actually around near your area as well. So it was also around Regina. And what pilots recounted when you break through and you look into the information is some of them reported triangles. So lights that were in triangle formation in the sky. So a group of 3, then sometimes you would see them in 4 going into a square, and sometimes you would see them as a diamond shape. So this is what pilots have been reporting. This was at an altitude of around 100,000 feet as well, so quite high up. What we also saw or heard was one pilot saying that they'd been seeing them for about 18 months. So I did look back throughout, a little bit of recent history, and there's reports and sightings around this area in particular. So if you guys are in the area and you have seen lights, please let me know. I'm really interested in the connection with some of the native tribes in the area as well. What I noticed as well is there is some interesting sacred sites and things that are there. So I will bring up a screen share again, and we will have a look in a second. But what I also wanted to mention as well is some of these sightings actually date back to 1792 in the area. So this is really, really exciting stuff. But it's stuff that our ancestors would have seen, but maybe had different words to describe. So they might have talked about, whether it's like a flying bell, or, we've heard things about almost like meteors, different things like this. Oh, thank you. It sounds like there might be another fellow Aussie. So let's pop this up. This was really interesting when I started to look into commonalities and different things around like sites over here in Australia, like Uluru, and even some of the more local sacred sites and caves and different places where we see UFOs. What I notice is that there's a commonality. So I've got like a little hit list for you guys that are wanting to have ET contact or go into specific sacred sites or places where there is ET contact. So what I tend to look for is, and I've called it ET areas of interest. So you guys might want to rewind this later and write it down, or if you're very fast, you can write it. So areas of ET interest would be places that have had meteor impacts. So we have them here. Wilpena Pound in, I think it's in South Australia, is a massive like place to go. It's under the Southern Cross. There's quite a special original people connection with the Southern Cross and with that particular area of Wilpena Pound in the Flinders Ranges. So meteor impacts, craters. You want to look for sacred sites. You want to have a look for mounds. And that's what this place has. Like when we look to all of these things that I'm going through, this place where the sightings are happening ticks every single list in my checklist for ET places of interest. So it has sacred sites, it has mounds, it has like petroglyphs and also like rock mound formations and art and things like that. Also has like high mineral content. So when we look for certain areas, we look for, is there crystals and different things. So this place also has crystals. We also want to have a look in and see, is there, a water supply? Is there mineral springs? So this place has hot and cold mineral springs. Oh, thank you, John. Just reminding everyone where to go for a reading as well. It's just in that little ticketer just below. So the other thing too is magnetic anomalies. So this place that these pilots are seeing these lights in the sky actually has a place underneath on the ground in Canada called Magnetic Hill. So this is around that prairies place in Canada. So also we have the original people contact, talking about having met star family and different things. So when we look to, Aboriginal or Indigenous tribes and our First Nations people, over here we call them original people as well, because they were originally occupying that area. So what we tend to hear is different stories of them having contact or, meetings with star family and things. The other thing too that I noticed is there's also Bigfoot sightings and there's forests over here. So there could be a lot of hidden caves, a lot of interdimensional portals and gateways in this location. So if you are in the prairies location in Canada, I would love to hear from you guys too. So we also have, when I looked into the gematria of this, so if we type in the prairies, Canada, the gematria was fascinating. Oh, and I can see some familiar faces. So thank you to our beautiful soul family that's been following us the whole time too. So what I noticed with gematria, when you enter the phrase, the prairies, Canada, it comes out with the same equivalent, chariots of fire. Now, this is often what it's been described as in the old days. UFOs were seen or depicted, or even looking back into more kind of like Renaissance or biblical times, possibly as chariots of fire, because that would have been their way of describing a vehicle. So we also have the word precious. We have the word protection, lighthouse, the anointed one, God is still here, Pleiadian spirit, which is interesting because I did get a Pleiadian feel when we looked into the UFO formations that were happening, mark of the immortal, Anunnaki kings. And what's interesting, if you look into some of the First Nations tribes and their stories connected with the Anunnaki as well, you will hear about them go in, or I guess some of the people incarnating into certain tribes, or the genetics. You can follow the bloodlines, is what I mean, into certain tribes. What we also heard was, or have, is the word custodian. So really, really interesting things, you know, when we're looking at the message. But chariots of fire, Pleiadian spirit, I mean, we can't get more clear and connected when we look into the gematria of this as well. So let's have a look and see what else we had. So we might have a look as well into the cards. Let's see what the cards say about this situation. And I've been waiting to do this. I haven't wanted to do it until you guys have actually been here to join me. So let's have a look and see what comes up. So we're just looking into the January 19th incident with the pilots that were flying over the prairies. And this was, I think, just north of Winnipeg in Canada. So let's have a look if we can get a message from Spirit around what was really happening with this situation. What were these lights in the sky? Okay, so Spirit's going to give us a few cards. Okay, so I'm feeling 5 cards. And as you guys know, I like to read face down. I'm not going to tilt my camera because I've got so much set up here today. Okay. So the energy that I do feel is definitely more of a higher consciousness. What's interesting is I can see dots or like grid points. So when we think about like sacred sites and we think about them being like a little grid connected to another grid. So say, for example, Uluru would be connected to multiple sacred sites in Australia. And this would also connect across the ocean. So say like Sedona or Mount Shasta, places of interest like this. So what they're showing me is almost like an etheric line, but I'm seeing this grid system also in the sky. So they're showing me that some of these sacred sites that are on the earth are marker points. So if we visualize almost like this, like a grid or a GPS that also appears in the sky, what they're showing me is this also helps them with navigation. So it also lets them know where there is sacred sites. Now, if we look back to ticking off the list and, you know, why these places of area of interest. So when we look into some of the places that I've had contact, like Uluru, we have the high iron, we have the red soil, and we have a lot of quartz. And sometimes where there's quartz, there's gold. So some of these places are very mineral rich and mineral dense. So it makes sense why there would be like a magnetic portal energy. So let's have a look and see what else they're showing us in the cards. The other thing that I'm also feeling with this, it's interesting. I'm seeing like an interest, but what they're showing me the interest is in regards to like the pilots and things, seeing them, what they're showing me is an interest in tuning into frequency. So it's almost like they're surveying, or their interest is being piqued to kind of like tune in to whether it's the pilots or whether it's, you know, passengers and things on board. But I am seeing like this playful kind of interest with some of the pilots. And what's, I guess, the connector with that for me is when I've had contact, or if I've been at Skywatches or running Skywatches, things like that, the more fun that we're having and the more that we're in an elevated state of emotion, the more that we actually will have increased contact. So let's flip over and have a look at the cards, and I'll come back to the sacred site picture so you guys can see like the sacred sites of the area. So just flipping over these cards. Oh, this is a very interesting look into this. So what we actually have, and when I felt into this a little bit earlier too, I did feel that there was almost like a point of disclosure coming from the ET side of things. So I do feel that they are wanting to have disclosure, and I do feel that they are seeing that that rise in frequency, that rise in consciousness from the human side of things. So we have the 7 of Cups. Now, a 7 sometimes can represent illusion, or it can represent things that are sort of just hiding in the wings. What we see with this is Venus and Scorpio. So this information or suppression has been happening for a really long time. I do feel that it is time to purge this information. Usually when I get this card too, it feels like we need to do kind of like a little bit of a detox or a little bit of a purge. And I can see people talk about Kundalini and different things and Bigfoot. So yeah, there is Bigfoot sightings around this area. We also have the Three of Cups. So I do feel that it is time to be reconnected, like with our star family, with our soul family, and to be in contact and communication with them in the positive side of things. We actually see the Tower card come out in reverse. So this is actually a good thing. I do feel that that's more of a positive, even though there could be a darker narrative around these from more of kind of like a military type approach. But what I actually see is these beings being in contact with us for thousands of years and being in contact with our ancestors and with some of the tribes. So what we also have on here as well is up this way, we see this little symbol. And in Hebrew, this is called Peh. And it's a little kind of spiral alphabet letter, but it talks about that our words are as precious as gold. So I do feel this is also part of this communication, which is going to purge. So people having more personal contact and more having disclosure out in the open, I feel is actually going to discredit some of these Tower or Cabal type characters. So what we also have is the Five of Cups. So we see here as well, this card has been a card lately, more to do with like suppression. So it's to do with trying to keep the lid on certain things, trying to keep things stuck and suppressed. We also see where they're, traditionally it's the Three Cups that are spilled over with the two in the background standing upright. So we know Two of Cups is connected to love. So they're trying to take us out of love and into fear. So with the Three Cups spilled over that we traditionally get in the Five of Cups, this is more about where we're just focused on the physical, where we're just focused purely on what we can see. So there is a lot of distraction in narrating or getting our attention into what, I guess, the powers that be or the darker Cabal side of things want us to see. But they're at a point, we're at a crossroad where they can no longer keep things suppressed. So we have the card of adjustment or justice. So what this means to me, for the last couple of years, Spirit has been showing this card. And with this one, you can see here, there's Mat, the Egyptian god as well, usually kind of weighing the heart against the feather. So we've reached a time now when we're coming to a certain frequency. And I see this as like a veil and then wanting to usher and to move us on to this higher place and higher realm. And I can see some gorgeous familiar faces. Sending love to all of you guys out there and see some beautiful clients out there as well. So yeah, what we have with this adjustment card, it's time. When we look into the cards in this way, it seems like it's time. The disclosure is happening. And if it doesn't come out in, an appropriate timing, or if it's not disclosed properly, I do feel that we'll be having more of a contact on a personal level and more contact like our star brothers and sisters and our ancestors had. So they're just giving me some star cards. We'll flip these over, and I actually bought this little deck just the other day so that we can use this too. Let's have a look. So we have the World card, 10 of Wands, 2 of Pentacles, 5 of Wands. So even on the ET side of things, it does look like that the suppression has happened long enough, that we have been, I guess, stuck within this matrix or this false reality programming for long enough. So what we actually see is the close off to this situation. So now that we're in the age of Aquarius, we've also shifted into that, out of that Kali Yuga and into a new phase. This is when contact's going to be happening. So we see a 10 of Wands situation as well. So it does look like that the ETs have also had enough of kind of waiting for us to come into the galactic family and into actually knowing the truth about our origins. That's what I feel a lot of this contact is about, as well as kind of bringing in activation messages and things in from that higher world. So we have 2 of disc. So with this, we can sort of see a world as above, so below. This is Capricorn and Jupiter energy. So this is now that they see that we're at this stage for growth and expansion. What we do see though, sadly, is a lot of people are still in the old belief system or still following this current program that has been directed to them or been dictated to them, I should say. So this one is Sagittarius Saturn and Leo energy. So with this, we do need to kind of like push back on some of these things. And I can see Ocean said, what an incredible time. It's so true. We're literally living in incredible times. So that is a little look into the cards and what the cards have to say about this experience. So really exciting. So I do encourage you guys to go have personal contact and to go to some of these sacred sites and places. What we also see too is we want to use discernment. So it's not just going out there and opening up to all that is or anything like that. It really is putting up your protection, using your spiritual discernment, understanding and knowing that we have this equipment for this contact within. So listening into our pineal, our nervous system with our tuning fork, really kind of feeling in vibrationally to how things feel when we see them in the sky. Because that's the one thing that is the most important when you're seeing something in the sky. Feel in to what is my feeling. Does it feel friendly? Does it feel like family? Is there a message, or is there something that you wish to communicate when we look into the connection with them? So it's also about your intention that you put out there. So not only do we want to have a heart-centered approach, when we look at frequency and we look at emotions that actually vibrate the highest, it's said that the level of the highest level is actually the emotion of authenticity. So if you're out there not pretending to be someone that you're not, just standing there pure as you are, really like tapped into your own consciousness, this is actually vibrating your antenna. And if you're mixing that with love, it's even better. So, and I can see it's snowing where some of you are as well. So hopefully you're staying warm. So this little picture that we have here, so what weird Mantabar, and hopefully I'm saying it right. I am dyslexic, so bear with me. So it has plenty of peculiar places to visit this summer. So we see here these little Pine Hilge, I think it's pronounced, is a cement cemetery cluster of concrete spheres in the rural so this is also just northwest of Winnipeg. So it's interesting when we see these kind of like art displays or placements of things, and maybe it's not just art, maybe there's actually a reason for this. And we see concrete spikes and things like that in other parts of nature. So this could actually be like a landmark or to hold an energy or a grid point. So this site was actually really good. This was in just a CBC Canadian news. So if you type in sacred sites in Canada, so you can see there's Bigfoot or Sasquatch. We call him Bigfoot or Yowie over here as well. And you can also see, just waiting for this to load. Yeah, sea monsters, all sorts of things were coming up in different things to see. Let me just load this. So we have Pilot Mound and Strange Mound. So we also know in Ohio, in the States, I think it's just near Cleveland, there's Serpent Mound, which is connected to some of the First Nations people over there as well. We also know that there's huge UFO sightings out near there. Michael Lee Hill has had some amazing sightings over at Lake Erie, right near this area, or the Serpent Mound area. So we do tend to see more ET UFO sightings around mounds and around things that our ancestors would have built, perhaps to even get closer or perhaps as a monument to attract the ET consciousness. So yeah, lots of interesting things to see in this particular area. Magnetic Hill. Now we have a point here in Australia where there is also a magnetic hill where your car, you can park it and it will it'll roll up the hill. So strange anomalies like this, we also tend to see that there's a bit of a portal energy. So there's usually, whether it's Bigfoot sightings, lights and different things like that, that are also sighted around different places like this. And just see, we talked about this before. Haunted sites as well is sometimes we will see where there's a crossover or a layering of a few different dimensions. What was also interesting too was looking at the tribal side of things. So when I looked into this area, now I did read that there was a few more tribes perhaps connected to this place, but when we look over to the prairies, and I won't attempt to pronounce them all, but I just also wanted to honor the first people that were actually in this area and to talk about that, you know, it's possible that they would have had contact with some of these lights that we're seeing today. The other thing is I popped this up as well. So you can see like some of the tribes actually written here. So yeah, I'm not going to pronounce them. The other thing that we saw with the area is gemstones. So there's lists of like different gemstones. So we see amethyst, there was like white howlite, ammolite, you know, really interesting array of different stones. We also have aquamarine or aquamarine if you're in the States, diamonds. So really, really high mineral dense, interesting area to look into. So I do want you guys looking out for areas like that that are near you guys, because this is talking about beyond being galactic. And that's what this show is about, is how can we have contact? How can we have experiences and things as well? So when we look into, I'm just having a look if there's anything I missed with that little story. So yeah, looking into with this place as well. So with some of the ancient craters that we had, there was also a lake, St. Martin. So with this crater that we talked about before in this particular area, and I'm just going to bring you guys back. So it was actually over 220 million years old, and the crater is about 40 kilometers wide. So we're talking about like a huge impact that's hit the earth in this particular area, whether there's different minerals and things that have come off this. And I also want to take some questions from you guys today as well. So if you do have some questions around like the ET side of things, or if there's anything that you think would be interesting to talk about, please pop your questions into the little comments box and I'll have a look out for them. Now, I might not be getting comments from all of the streams coming in, but I'm definitely seeing them come in from YouTube as well. So yeah, if you've got questions on portals, which I do think is an interesting topic that we could perhaps look into. So I might even do that while we wait for some questions in the little chat box. So I'm just going to have a look into and I did look into the portal situation with the Miami Mall incident. And what I actually saw was Pleiadians sitting above the mall. So I saw like cloaked ships that were sitting there that were kind of buffering and just checking that anything wasn't going to go astray or that anything wasn't going wrong. So let's have a look and see what comes up. So I've got 2 cards come out face up already to do with portals, and we actually have my portal card, but there's something around changing our mind around portals. We'll pick a few in a moment, but the first thing that we have is the Knight of Wands. So when we look into the question around ET contact and portals, and I can see Jay Daniels is also asking about, can you have a portal in your house? It's true. You can actually have portals that open in your house. And whether this is the question of like opening a portal in your house, the more that you kind of focus your intention and work with things. So in one of my old houses, I actually had a portal in the backyard that was more of a Pleiadian portal. So the more that you make contact, the more that you meditate and connect. And I also see you're talking about medicine wheels. So live near a rainstone on the medicine wheel on the prairies. Question, is it activated? Oh, that is a good question. I'm going to leave this one up. We'll jump to that in a minute. But yeah, what I'm seeing to do with portals as well is, see the 6 of Cups. For me, this is my card that represents portals. It represents superstring theory, represents like our multidimensional kind of crossing over of timelines and things. And thank you, Ocean. Yes, please hit like, share, and subscribe, and share this with any like ET friends, family that you know, or people that it might pique their interest. But let's have another look and see if there's anything else that comes up with this portal. Okay, so what we're also seeing is something's happening with the portals at the moment. There's a few ETs and different beings that are getting confused. So with that Miami Mall incident, we did also see there was a lady on TikTok who just had the intuition to type it in reverse, the longitude and latitude, and it actually turned up in the middle of Antarctica. So what we're seeing is, yeah, maybe perhaps some beings that are setting the wrong coordinates or popping in and out at the moment. It feels like things are being activated or opened, possibly for the first time in a while. We also have the 6 of disc, which is interesting. It looks exactly like a portal. So when we look into the situation of portals, I would say yes, multidimensional timelines are crossing over. We're getting some synchronization and we're getting some hotspot activity, is the words that I'm hearing from Spirit around this. So this would be an amazing, perfect time to have contact. So I'm just going to jump back to to your question. So I live near the rainstone on the medicine wheel of the prairies. Question, is it activated? That is a great question. Let's have a look into that. Okay, so they're giving me one more. So we've got quite a few cards to do with this. Please shout out if there's anyone else who lives close to that area too. Now, it's not to say that we will only have contact in, places that have all of these minerals and all these other things that we ticked through on the list before. I've had them in broad daylight in the middle of the city, above skyscraper buildings. So, it really just is also about keeping our awareness open, keeping like our eyes and frequency a little bit more attuned to things that are otherworldly. So we've got 6 questions. And I can see as well. Oh, okay. I'm going to pop Maria's up next as well. So at the moment, we're looking into the portal medicine wheel near the prairies. Now, what I feel with this is interesting. I feel like that there's a different energy, perhaps, to ancient times. I feel like I'm seeing beings coming in and out of a portal near that area. I feel like that there is something that's sort of like toned it down a bit, or they feel to kind of go a little bit more into hiding, whether this was that they felt a little bit too exposed in this area. But let's flip the cards over and see. So, we have portal energy. So we've got 10 of disc. So it definitely looks like that medicine wheel that you have near the prairies, it does look like that perhaps it's even a stargate. That's a word that I'm hearing with this too. And we see here 6 of Wands. This was the card that I was seeing before when we were talking before about like multidimensional timelines lapping over and crossing as well. So 6 of Wands, we can see that it is a place perhaps where timelines intersect. We then see the 9 of Cups, where for me, the 9 of Cups is sort of like where we're out of that stuck, limited, or kind of like smaller version of self, and we are connected and aware of things that are happening on a higher frequency. The other thing that we have is the Hierophant. Oh my gosh, we've got more portals. So it does look like that your portal is activated. I feel like when I look at the cards though, it's not as active as what it once was. So there could be some things that you could do to remedy it, to see if there's anything that needs healing around that area. Sometimes what we've also seen when I've looked into personal readings on land and on sacred sites is sometimes there's old tribal wars, or there's huge cullings of populations and sadness that's held within the frequency of the land. So there could be something that happened around there that we need to perhaps heal or cancel out that frequency. But we do have the Hierophant. So this was a place, this portal medicine wheel, where people would actually go to have contact. So in that local area, and I'm just noticing cockatoos in the background with me as well. So 3 of disc is actually my stargate. So really interesting that before we flipped these over, I heard the word stargate too. So with this 3 of disc, this is also about the contact within the pineal gland, within our ears. This for me is also what I call a fire that cannot be extinguished by water. So with this, it is Mars and Capricorn energy. So that energy is still quite strong, still switched on, just perhaps not as much as what it used to be. So we also see the 6 of discs. So I actually feel like that you may have some work to activate and switch this portal on again. So I'm just going to jump into, so hopefully that helps answer the question. Let me know in your comments below as well. Around that answer. I would love to hear what you say. All right, so we've got Maria Weiss, and question, I just want to know about the portal on my land, or possibly within a mile or so of my land. All right, so I'm just going to tune into this frequency. Oh, I think you can. I can see your lovely message in the comments just quickly. All right, so just looking into the portal energy from Maria. All right, so the first thing I'm seeing around this is actually singing it. And what Spirit means by singing it is I feel like there's something about singing it into activation. I'm actually hearing like a really deep it almost feels kind of like a tribal or like a heart chant to activate. So what I've seen in a couple of readings as well with mountains and things recently is it's almost that some of the mountains are singing and some of the mountains frequency is activating and we're becoming aware of the land actually being conscious as well. Oh, and I'm just going to pop up. So in regards to the last question that we just looked in, just seeing. Okay, yep, it's a ground in, sorry guys, my writing's really small on here. It's a ground in Sask and Manitoba, where I am in Alberta. It feels more cleansed. The circle united all of the old tribes. Oh, you're welcome. So that's really cool. So let's have a look and see what we get from Maria's question. All right. So yeah, I just keep getting it. Something about like singing or activating this portal back to life. What I do feel though is there's an area around there that feels like very held by the land. I'm actually getting a feeling of perhaps there being some caves or something that are hidden. And I do feel that there is perhaps like a presence of what we would say is like an interdimensional being. Sometimes you will also see like Yahweh's, Bigfoot being more kind of like interdimensional beings as well. Oh, thank you. So what we're seeing with Maria's question around the portals and things, this is so interesting. We talked about like singing or activating and really kind of doing a prayer or a chant type energy around this. What we see is 5 of Swords and 7 of Swords. So there may have been something that happened to create a dormancy or to cut things off in terms of the portal being activated. We are also seeing 8 of Discs. And my feel overall, like as we're talking about this, so this is also Maria who was asking the question. Thank you, Sarita. It's surrounded by hills and the rim of a canyon where we have 7 acres. Good. So we're looking into the right location, the right place. Yeah, what I feel with this is for a lot of you guys that are catching this show and why we've shifted into talking about portals and this collective is because I feel a lot of you are meant to activate the portals in your local area, whether these are sacred sites, whether these are creating and having your own personal portal in your backyard, remembering crystals and things like that will absolutely, attract these beautiful beings. Make sure to always ask for protection. And I do like working with the Lyrans, these beautiful cat-like beings. You can call them in on your property to hold space on each 4 corners of the property. So with Maria, we can also see this 8 of Disc. So we're seeing that there might actually be more than one portal. I actually feel like there's multiple portals. Thank you guys. You guys are so sweet. I love you. And then we have 10 of Wands. So with this, it is the card of oppression. It is Saturn and Sagittarius energy. So I do feel like the original tribes of that area may have been suppressed, may have come under, some violence. And what we're seeing is Queen of Swords energy. So definitely Maria, definitely like singing this back awake, talking, communicating to the mountains as well. Awesome. Yeah, definitely weaving light and healing. So yeah, let me know if you guys also have another question, pop it in the comments and we will have a look into the cards. We have a little bit of time left to look into that still. While we're doing that, and I'm waiting to see if there's a little question, I'm just going to pop up and screen share again. This is actually one of my ET UFO daytime contacts, and it is one of my favorites. So you'll be able to find this on YouTube as well. It's just over on my channel. And this was, as you can see, 15th of June, 2016. Now, what you actually see with this little bubble in the bottom part of the screen is actually a being. So I'm filming with this 4K camera looking into the sky. Now, this is very hard because the cameras are not made to focus and to kind of have that focus on something so tiny, which is actually like the size of a car, in the sky. So you can actually see there's like a little black silhouette sitting inside of there. So there was a conscious, intelligent being that was flying in this plasma ball of light. So this would be what we call like a plasma ship, or perhaps in Renaissance days, they referred to them as pearls or chariots that are flying. So let's just play this one. And so I won't do the sound for it because it's more just So you can see the camera struggles a little bit to focus on these kinds of things. Now, but yeah, so that's just a little bit of what it's like to actually see these beings at daytime. Now, what's interesting too is sometimes you'll be. Oh, sorry, guys. YouTube ads kicking on. So yeah, sometimes you'll be in a crowd or you'll be with a group, and some people will see them and some people don't. So it is really interesting. It's all about frequency. So that's what I really want to work with, and for us all to learn together with this series too, is what can we do to raise our frequency and vibration? What is it that's enabling us to have contact and to also share our amazing and magical experiences? So let's have a look into the energy of. I'm just reading a few of your questions. Okay, we're going to have a look into this one. So thank you for your question, Elena. Hopefully I'm saying your name right. Is it possible that we can have a look into the energy of Cuba? I keep hearing that things have changed in the background, but I have family there and people that are being oppressed. And there is also some interesting ET things that happen there. If I've got my geography right, I think if you Google UFO sightings Guatemala, I think it was around World War II, there was some really interesting things. My US Marine grandfather was actually around there at that particular time. And he just happens to be part Navajo as well. So yeah, it's interesting. When we have different bloodlines running within us, we are sometimes more attuned to seeing and having contact experiences because we do have hybrid DNA and genetics that we're within. So let's have a look into Cuba and see the energy for the moment. Okay, and I'm just going to flip these straight over because we don't have the most amount of time. It's actually gone quite quick. So let's have a look. So what we do have is, it looks like that there has been in the past some suppression. We do have the card of the devil. So I feel like there was a lot of empty promises. There was a lot of kind of, how do you say? It's like illusion type things, or a lot going on behind in the background. The word corruption is what I'm hearing from spirit. We also then get the 3 of Cups. So this is getting into kind of like just the recent past as well. So there might be some things or I'm hearing the word like ground movement around like more positive things starting to activate and open. We see here the High Priestess. So there could be some things as well. And these guys are getting noisy out here. So hopefully you can hear. There might also be some things that are triggering us to come into higher states of consciousness. And also, I'm reminded that one of the third and final stages of this shift and this ascension timeline is these guys out here. So noticing in your local area if the birds are acting weird. I've lived here for about 2.5 years, and it's only been just recently that these guys are really wanting to interact on a human level, like literally coming up. So now they're starting to get fed. Just a little bit. But yeah, I do feel like that we're coming to the end of a situation, and we have the card of peace. We have the card of the Magnus. We have the card of peace with this as well. So it does look like perhaps coming back more into kind of like personal power or sovereign power. I do feel that this is also a reference to do with like individual sovereignty as well. So maybe it could be the people rising against this old energy. What's interesting is my throat chakra. As I'm saying that, feels like it's going a little. So this symbol down here, ayin in Hebrew, as one of the alphabet letters, actually represents like our thyroid, our throat, kind of thymus area, and it represents like speaking up. So there might be some people that are speaking up in regards to perhaps like some old depression and things that are happening. So I'll just have a look, making sure that we've got everything covered that I wanted to talk about. I think we might have time maybe for another question. Let's have a look. Okay. Okay, so I've got an interesting contactee, and there'll be a few of you guys in here that are contactees as well. So we've got with Wend 55WC. Hi, my question is it symbolic to have been seeing a whole fleet of spaceships on my bedroom ceiling? Then also happen in Scotland too. Sometimes had happened weeks on the emerge, never for years. Okay, so it sounds like you're having contact where you're seeing ships come in on the bedroom ceiling. Now, this is one thing that I find as an experiencer, I've had happen myself, where the whole roof disappears and I've literally seen a mothership and I can see the stars and everything. What I've noticed is there's usually a feeling around having been dropped off back into bed or having just come from actually being on the ship. So a lot of my clients have also had experiences like this. So some of us have also reported seeing like little UFOs within the bedroom. Sounds so weird. And I didn't even know it existed until it happened to me. And I had another client the other day who had the same thing. Oh, you're so welcome, Elena. But yeah, so definitely look out for like contact in the small UFO variety, just like Elroy in the Jetsons used to have that UFO follow him around. Some of these beings actually will work with us to upgrade our psychic senses. So I think on past shows, I've talked about waking up after a mini UFO experience to a needle coming out the eye. But let's have a look into your question about your actual specific thing of them happening for you, because it sounds like it may have happened in more than one country. Oh, Adele, I love that question, Ocean. Adele, thank you. All right, so just having a look into these mini UFOs and contact and what's happening. So what's interesting, as soon as I start to touch the cards and pick them around this situation, I actually feel like I'm getting taken out of body. I actually feel like there's a lot of light frequency that's being, I guess, like beamed or entering my energy field or auric field. And I feel filled with like golden and white light and lifted and raised up frequency vibrationally. So I feel whilst my physical body might still stay in the location, they're showing me an image of the frequency getting so high that we're actually being taken on board a craft. So what you would have seen would have been getting dropped back into body. So we've got quite a few cards. I'll flip them over. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. Okay, definitely having contact experiences. I would say that there's some things that are perhaps hidden or buried within the deep consciousness as to what might have happened. So hypnotic regressions, really great, or QHT, I think it's pronounced, is also really good. I've had many regressions that have helped to make sense of my experiences. Things that we sometimes block off from when we're children that we may have been fearful of, we may be ready to kind of venture in and to see and experience it as we're older. So we had the Ace of Swords, we have the Star card, so you're definitely getting higher contact coming in from above. We see the Hermit, and then we see, I'm just hearing spirit reference, this is the Messenger. So it's actually the Prince of Cups, Knight of Cups, but I actually feel Messenger. So when we look at them all together, higher contact is happening to you because you have hybrid star genetics, and Spirit is asking you to bring your wisdom back here into the earth realm to talk about your experiences and to really look into them. We have the universe or the world card as it is in some decks. We see here there's a huge Kundalini activation. And here's this big golden light that I was talking about seeing and sensing. And what we see here is she's trying to control the situation. So I would say definitely look into perhaps ET or hypnotic regression or doing it in a meditation form. We also see here that there's an etheric city. So this experience would have been what I call more like a spiritual etheric in ancient Egyptian days, we probably talk more about the ka body, or like our body being a vehicle of light. What we do see though, 3 of Swords. So there may have been some suppression of the memories, or some things that may have, invoked a little bit of fear or uncertainty. This, for me, the 3 swords usually go through the heart in the main deck. In this particular one though, we see them go through throat chakra. So there's something about like that we're suppressing, or something that we need to speak up around or find out more around this. So I just want to say thank you, everyone, for all the love tonight. And please remember to like, share, subscribe, hit those like button, and drop a little emoji or comment as well. I can only see some of the comments on one of the platforms, so I will go back in and read some of the other comments after. What I also want to remind you guys is to please jump on over and like, share, and subscribe over on the Beyond Mystic channel. I'll just bring this up. And yeah, please share, our Rumble channel as well. JC has worked so hard to get all of the channels and everything going. And we really we really love the experience of you guys participating in this. So please let me know what you want to see next week. If there's anything you want to dive into or any questions that you have, I will read into all of the platforms and make sure that I'm seeing some answers, whether it's on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, Rumble and YouTube. So yeah, please hit like, share, subscribe. I also want to remind you guys too where to go to book a consultation with me. So I have opened up a lot more bookings for the year. I do tend to do it in chunks. So you'll see that there's quite a few spaces at the moment that are going forth, I think from like around March onwards. But yeah, I've got the Mystical Oracle reading where you can ask your personal questions and we look into anything, whether it's like physical, emotional, relationship, career, anything around ET contact. It's also a really great session to book. And with the Starseed Origins one, we do an aura drawing to start both sessions. But in the Starseeds one, we'll have that little pulse check and look into the energy of what's happening for you guys at the moment. And yeah, please use Beyond Mystic in all caps. And with that, you'll get the 10% discount code. So go to consultations.beyondmystic.net. And I'm just reading all of your comments. Is there anything at the moment, guys, that you would love to see for next week? Or if there's anything that you guys hear of in the news, send me to check it out, because I would love to hear what's happening, if there's something that I've missed. And also from kind of like the contact in Australia point, I'll just let you know, like things are ramping up. So definitely more portals, flashes of light. Keep your awareness open for all of this. I'm so grateful for you guys too. Thank you. You guys are gorgeous. So yeah, you can also look me up on social media as well. If you want to post a little question to me there, I'm probably a bit more likely to see it too. So I just want to say thank you. And I'm really looking forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a beautiful night. Oh, and I'll have a look at your question. Thank you, Ocean. You can always send me a reminder too on Instagram or Facebook. All right. Good night, guys.